Yeah. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can find us on Twitter at LTF1 Official.
Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to LTF1. We're here for your race rundown after the first race of the season. It was a good start. What did you think?
Yeah, well, this is what people have wanted for ages. The last couple of seasons, it's been Mercedes dominant, finishing races, Lewis Hamilton a minute and a half in front of Max Verstappen. But today was amazing. What did you think?
I was skeptical after yesterday's qualifying. I thought that maybe Mercedes were just sandbagging to an extreme and maybe it gone a little bit in Red Bull's favor, but they were still going to be there or thereabouts, which they were. But I really feel like Red Bull threw the race away today. I think Mercedes took the race. Red Bull lost the race. Mercedes didn't take it, if you know what I mean. The strategy calls were baffling at times, but I can see what they were going for. They wanted to put Max in a position to be strong at the end of the race, but we know that around Bahrain it's going to be difficult to pull it off for the last laps because it's quite tight race. If you're pushing, then you're going to struggle in the last laps, and he did. And I guess experience won out today.
Yeah, for definite. You could tell just Lewis Hamilton, as you said, his experience just carried him through at the end, because I did think, and if you check our Twitter, you can see, but I really did think that Max Verstappen had the race. Before the race, I thought narrowly it would go to Max Verstappen. And even towards the end, when Verstappen was, just over a second behind, I think he was like 1.077 seconds behind with about 2 or 3 laps left. I thought then, even though he was out of DRS range at that point, I thought within the next sort of lap or two, he was going to get Hamilton. But
as soon as he didn't come in for the first round of pit stops and he decided to stay out, I felt that they'd lost the race. I felt that they just lost the race. It was gone for me, because I had enough faith in Hamilton to know that with all of his experience, he was going to save something for the end. He wasn't. There was no chance he was pushing flat out all those laps while Max was catching up. So after that first round of pit stops, I just assumed that Mercedes had got it in the bag, even though once again they fumbled Bottas's pit stop. I'm in a few F1 group chats. People are seeming to think that Mercedes is doing it on purpose to Bottas. I'm not really sure where that sentiment's coming from. But
no, personally, I can't see that being the case. I can just see it being, it's just clumsy. Twice now it's happened. And I felt a bit bad for Bottas, but because he should have been closer at the end. He should have been, if not in that fight, somewhere in and around that fight for the top. But I can't see it being deliberate, because why?
He should have been closer, but just like we were last season, just like I was last season, I don't have any faith in him. I seriously don't know what he's doing in that seat. He's wasting it as far as I'm concerned. Even before the pit stop, he was still 6 or 7 seconds behind his teammate, which is not where he should be. Yeah,
for definite, because even though he's, I guess, Mercedes more of a defensive driver to hold the podium spot, which is usually second for him, but he was exposed today with Verstappen's pace. Because Lewis Hamilton's outstanding racing, as we've established, won it, but Max Verstappen's pace is just too much for Bottas. And I think that was evident throughout.
And I would 100% put money on the fact that if Perez hadn't had issues yesterday and issues today, if he'd have started in the grid position he was supposed to, I think he'd be right up there with Bottas, causing him problems.
Yeah, for definite, because Perez, he flew through everyone today. He's amazing. He started, P19 was it? Yeah, P19 from the pits.
From the pits, and then obviously Mazepin very helpfully took himself out of the race so that Perez could get that extra spot. But yeah, he flew through the pack, and I think that's exactly what Red Bull were looking for. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest qualifying yesterday, not entirely his fault, but his racing was perfect.
Yeah, for definite. He looked much like himself in Bahrain last year.
Yeah. Another near perfect race, Norris for McLaren. Clean, out of trouble. Barely saw him on the TV after the first few laps, and that's usually a good thing.
Yeah, Norris, I think I said it on my last blog. If you check our website, www.ltf1official.com.
Plugs himself, as always.
But yeah, Norris, I think this year I think this is his first year where he's really matured in that seat. I think he's a lot more grown up than what he was in his first season or even last season. He looks confident. He looks like he's starting to show why he has a big future in F1 and why potentially in a year or two, or in the era after Hamilton, he could start thinking about dominating a bit, along with Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc if Ferrari pick up again. But yeah, Lando Norris, he was really impressive. You
forgot to mention
today.
Your boy.
George Russell.
You not got faith in him?
When he gets that Mercedes seat.
But even just for McLaren, it's been looking up since testing. Even today,
yeah,
a 4.7, not the greatest result. They're probably looking for 4.5. But I feel like Ricciardo may have taken damage when Sainz clattered into the back of him. I think it was, or Gasly. It might have been Gasly. It was that clattered into the back.
Yeah, Gasly. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe a difficult race for him, but P7 not too bad. Separated by Perez, who we've spoken about, had a great race. Charles Leclerc also getting ahead of Bottas at the start because Bottas is shit. So there's that. He had a good race too.
Yeah, for definite.
I put you off your point completely, didn't I?
Yeah, I lost track of where I was completely.
You were going to say something about McLaren.
Oh yeah. Should we
no, we're not cutting this because I cannot be asked to edit. So you carry on.
Okay.
You just look like an idiot. I don't mind that.
I'm not an idiot. I promise everyone I'm not an idiot. Actually, I'll cut this awkwardly to make me look bad. But yeah, I was going to say Daniel Ricciardo in that McLaren, he's obviously still getting used to it. They've had practice, so on. But it will take him a few races like it did at Renault to really sort of get into his flow. But even 7th in his first race isn't awful considering Gasly making contact earlier on and so on.
Another newbie, or a debut rather for the team, Carlos Sainz. Points in his first race with Ferrari. I didn't expect that last year. If you'd have told me that he was going to get P8 on his debut, I was not expecting that from him. A really solid race. And I think he was saying in the post-race interviews as well that he kind of backed off in the first few laps and lost a few positions because he was being quite cautious. He didn't want to crash out on his debut. So
yeah, I think you could tell as well. Yeah, but I think you could tell that he was being cautious, but overall it was solid. I expect to see Ferrari pick up a few more places this year because they do look a lot stronger than what they did last year. But it will definitely be tough with them in McLaren especially. And even AlphaTauri, don't count them out because Gasly had to retire, but if he hadn't have had that contact and front wing damage, then he might have been in the fight there as well.
I feel like Tsunoda as well, he got a terrible start, it looked like. But
yeah,
he pulled back through the field quite well against veterans. The dive bomb on Alonso, I don't know if you caught it, was insane. It was a type of Daniel Ricciardo Monza move that put Daniel Ric on the map. They should be putting Tsunoda on the map.
Yeah, and I think it will because Tsunoda, he looked really, really good. He looked really fast. He looks fearless when he drives, and I really like that. He sort of, in some ways, is a bit Max Verstappen-y, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, he is also their next rising star. He's probably the only person in the Red Bull Junior program that would maybe be able to put the screws to Max as well.
Yeah.
Stroll in the Aston Martin rounding out the top 10. A so-so race for them.
Yeah. Stroll, he looks solid, consistent within the race. There was some shaky moments, but overall it was okay for Stroll, and for Vettel it was disappointing to say the least.
Disappointing, especially for Vettel. He just needs a clean weekend.
Yeah, because in fairness to him, at one point he was nearly heading towards my sort of driver of the day. And hear me out here, because early in the race, or early-ish in the race, before the weird sort of pit strategy for Aston Martin, he picked up a lot of positions. He was sort of fighting back, and I thought maybe he could nick a point here. But with the weird pit strategy and then him making contact with Ocon after that, it was sort of finito.
It was a really good start from him. By the end of the first lap, I think he gained like 5 places from the back of the grid. Obviously, one spun out and one was starting from the pit lane, but he had a good start. It just went downhill after a couple of bouts of contact.
Yeah, because I think everyone collectively, especially when I saw on Twitter, everyone was thinking, when's he gonna pit? When's he gonna pit? And then you could tell he was losing grip in the tyres, and after that, it was just going wrong everywhere for him.
As soon as Stroll got in behind him, and then he had to let Stroll through, and he made a mess of that.
Yeah,
it was race over for his hope at points.
Yeah, because I do think Vettel has it in him somewhere still, but it might be a while before we see it again.
And just outside the points, Alfa Romeo, both of them, Kimi leading Giovinazzi, amazing race from them. Pace that we did not think we were going to see. I thought they'd be down the back of the order, but they seem to be right in there with the midfield.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo, they've sort of gone under the radar so far. I think I might have mentioned them on Twitter a couple of days ago, I can't remember, but for definite, they've gone under the radar. No one sort of said much about them. And yeah, I think they could sneak a few points in this season.
And now we get on to the biggest losers, I think, this weekend, Alpine. I don't have words for how their weekend's gone. They looked really strong in testing in terms of they got loads of laps in. We thought, yeah, it was a strong Renault at the end of last year. What could go wrong? His name's Alonso. The curse continues.
Yeah.
It was...
Because, go on.
There you go.
Okay. Because I thought after a strong qualifying yesterday with Alonso, a lot stronger than Ocon anyway, I thought they had potential today because I wasn't convinced at first when I saw them in practice. I wasn't very convinced by their pace, but I thought Alonso looked strong in qualifying, but again, it was just a miserable day. I think it was some debris that got caught within his... What happened? I think it was debris that sort of caused his brakes to overheat, and then he was forced to retire as a result of it. Yeah,
it just bad to worse. After Alonso's qualifying yesterday, I thought he is one of the best races, or he was one of the best races on the grid. If anyone's going to be able to make something good out of that, I think P8 qualified, it's going to be him. But he just kind of dropped like a stone, really.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. I just don't think that Alpine, as much as they're not the same team as they were as Renault, I think they're not the same team at all. I don't think they'll be as strong this year. I think they'll be sort of Alfa Romeo last year.
The only thing I can think of is that they've decided to sack this year off and put everything towards 2022. That is, maybe it's tactical. I saw some people talking about tactical failures this year because of wind tunnel testing time next year, but it's a big risk if that is what they're doing. Yeah, and it might be, but do you think this is going to be Alonso's farewell tour? Because if it is, because with McLaren he wasn't exactly spectacular, and McLaren weren't spectacular at the time, but if this is going to be his sort of farewell tour, it's a bit of a ball one. Yeah, I think he might do. I think 2 years is probably the max. If it's running like this, he'll wait this year out just because of the regulations next year. But if they don't hit the ground running, if he's not competing for podiums at the least, I can't see him sticking around. No, I can't. And I think I don't think he Alpine should. Want to look at some of their young. I think Alpine want to look to some of their younger drivers as well. Because the F2 was on fire today. Such as Zhou. Yeah. Then down the back of the grid, last two teams, Williams, George Russell, almost in the points at one point. Just randomly popped up in P10 and then disappeared. Yeah, it was, again, like a bit of a sinking stone. He started off 15th, and then randomly popped at P10. Then the next thing you know, he's overtaken by Vettel. Then he's sinking again. Then he goes into pit, and then after that, you don't see him on TV again. And I think that's just. I think Williams, they look a little bit better than last season, but
you just don't have the faith of them. When you see, like, George Russell in qualifying, Mr. Saturday, pushes the car, gets him up to P15, but from there, you just never think he's going to move upwards. You think he's going to move downwards. Same goes with Latifi. He doesn't usually get out of Q1, but you can't see them moving up any places or overtaking anyone. It's always either stay in the same position or sink a bit.
It is sad when you know that the highlight of a team like that is going to be George Russell getting out of Q3 on a Saturday, and that's the peak. They're only going downhill from there.
Yeah. Because, I put a poll up on Instagram, and a lot of people on our Instagram have faith that they're going to score points. But personally, I think unless there's about 7 or 8 retirements and the other sort of 2 cars remaining at Haas, I don't think they've got much chance.
Speaking of the Haas, Schumacher again.
I made it past turn 2.
Yeah. Low-key race, brought up the rear of the field. Didn't really see much of him on TV, to be honest. I'm sure he was just getting to grips with what looks like a dog of a car and just kind of enjoying his time out there.
Yeah, as I say, Haas isn't a destination, obviously, for Mick Schumacher. He wants to be at Ferrari at some point. But I think I think their standards at the minute are, as long as they can keep the cars on the track for the full race, or first lap even, then I think they'll be happy with that for now.
I think it was about the Haas where I saw people talking about tactical failures this year in terms of the season, failing the season tactically to get the maximum amount of wind tunnel time next year. If anyone's going to do it, I guess it makes sense for them to do it. They've got nothing to lose. They're probably going to round the field up anyways. What's the difference between 18th and 16th?
Yeah, that's true. Well, to be honest, I can't see them getting past P19 at the minute.
They've got to finish the race first. And Mick Schumacher was dangerously close to not finishing the race. He did have an off as well.
Yeah, that was that lap 2 or 3? Am I imagining?
It was quite early on.
It was, yeah.
It was quite early. So, who was your driver of the day then? Officially, it was Perez.
My driver.
But who was yours?
Yeah. I don't think I can disagree with that. Or Tsunoda or Perez for me. Both had very good races. Perez probably the driver of the day. Tsunoda, if Perez didn't have that race, would have been my driver of the day, because making up 4 positions from 13th, getting his first points, youngest ever point scorer, youngest ever starter in an F1 race. But for me, Perez edged it by having to start in the pits, having all those issues, and coming back to 6th.
Does that not make you feel like such a failure? Because it makes me feel like a failure. We're born in 2000. Tsunoda's born in 2000. And he's starting F1 races. I'm commenting on them for 116 people on YouTube.
216.
216. You can see it up there.
Yeah.
If you zoom in enough. But yeah, I'd have to agree. Perez had an amazing race, and Tsunoda gave us some excitement. Obviously, outside of that, Max and Hamilton, flawless as always, but you can't get drive the day every week.
No.
Worst driver of the day, if you don't count Mazepin?
Worst driver. I hate to say it, I really do. But I think because of the collision, it was very much Vettel's fault watching it back. I might have to go to Vettel because he sort of ruined his whole race there.
He did, and he sort of ruined Ocon's race as well. Yeah.
So I do really like Vettel. He's one of my favourite drivers. But yeah,
he had a terrible one, unfortunately. Hopefully he can bounce back from this and it doesn't start a downward spiral for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Next race, Imola. Looking forward to that, but we'll see you then for a race preview. That's all from us.
Yep.
Thank you for watching, and Ishan will outro us.
Yeah, so thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. You can find us on Twitter at LTF1Official, read our newest blog at LTF1Official.com, and follow us on Instagram, LTF1Official again. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.